do the intro. All right, everyone, welcome to Leadership Leaves Clues. And Debbie and I have a passion for bringing back the idea that the team leader role is one of the hottest things to do in Keller Williams. And each time we do these Zooms, we've picked two amazing guests to interview. So we've got weeks of people lined up. So stay tuned. And Debbie just said a few minutes ago, these are posted. They will be posted in the Leadership Leaves Clues Facebook page, and they will also be on our YouTube channel. So we can make sure you have links to those if you need that. So we're going to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour talking to two amazing people who I'm going to let them do their bullet point version of who they are, because quite frankly, they could spend an hour talking about what they've done in life and in this company. So I'm so excited that Tony, Brodie, and Leslie Hilbert are here today with their various roles in this organization. And I hope we just bring some great excitement back. So let's do this. Ladies first, Leslie.
Always.
Tony's a gentleman.
Okay.
Tony's a Southern gentleman, yeah, so he gets it.
The elevated version of the bio. I started my real estate career in 1999 as the receptionist at the front desk of a real estate company. So I worked my way through college in the industry, being a receptionist, a branch manager, a transaction coordinator, a personal assistant for a property manager, and then a mega agent. Licensed in 2003, joined my partner at that time, was a buyer's agent, a listing specialist, then became a team lead rainmaker. Joined Keller Williams in 2012. I consider myself the most successful, poorest realtor you would ever know. Closed 72 units and clipped coupons at night. That year, I blew up my team, started from ground zero per the models of the MREA. A year later, they asked me to join the ALC. A year later, they asked me to be the productivity coach. I recruited 60 agents in 15 months, grew 18 cappers, and they asked me to be the team leader in another market center in my ownership group. And 3 years later, they asked me to be the general manager of 5 Keller Williams market centers in the state of Oregon, which is what I am currently doing.
Wow.
You just took a journey on the opportunity map there. Did you hear that? Yeah. Great.
Totally.
I've done just about everything you can think of along the way. So
all right, Tony.
I'll go I'll try. That was really efficient. I like that. I graduated right after college. I was in the title business for 3 years. Had no desire really getting into homes or selling real estate, and finally got sucked in. Sold homes for about a year and a half up in the North Dallas area in Plano. Was rookie of the year. Had learned great things. They taught me how to lead generate. So I owe a lot of people. And then at 25 years old, I got the tap on the shoulder to be a team leader. Kind of a co-team leader at the Dallas Preston Road Market Center, which currently had 500 agents. It was a great experience. Did that for 4 years. And then had the opportunity to go out to Virginia, launch 2 offices, one in Old Town Alexandria and then in Fairfax. Did that for 2 to 3 years, which was a totally different experience and a big market center than coming right into brand new. And then Mary Tennant, who was the president at the time, and Gary Keller called me, no pressure, said, hey, we want you to come back to Texas and take over one of the first offices Gary ever opened, Market Center number 7 in Austin. And it was kind of a turnaround opportunity, team leader. We went from like 500 agents down to 300. Now it's like at 600 or 700. Did that for 3 years. But the biggest lesson there was Mary Tennant. She goes, if you nail this role, we'll bless any opportunity you have moving forward or your next step. And talk about opportunity map. We can dive into this later on the call, but that springboarded me to the regional director of Northern California and Hawaii, which led to be a regional director maps coach and OP and multiple market center investor, career visioning instructor, and now regional OP of 2 regions. So it just springboarded. It was an amazing experience, and 3 different locations over about 10 years in terms of the TL role. Yeah, that's where I am today.
Cool.
Wow, I'm just
very lucky.
I'm going to step right off this call right now. All right, Debbie, I'm going to let you start in with the questions because I may have some people jumping in with me that might make some noise.
Yep, that sounds good. Not a problem. Well, and Tony, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were team leaders in Texas together, and I went and shadowed Tony when he was the team leader, and I learned a lot and implemented things that he was doing immediately. So anyway, I don't know if you remember that, but it was definitely
and all the things I did terrible.
You did some great things. You did some great things. So, so speaking of that, one of the things I want you to kind of talk about, what was it that attracted you to the role, and how did it fit in with your purpose?
So I love that question. And I'll never forget, David Osborne was the OP of the Dallas Preston Road Market Center. And he recruited me on a napkin at an NAR event. And like, seriously, maybe, we're having dinner and maybe a drink or so. And he was like, hey, here's the opportunity. And he wrote down one number. I'll never forget it. He goes, 104. And I go, what's that? He goes, think about it. I go, David, I got nothing. He goes, well, that's 52 weeks in a year times 2. You get 104 days off right off the bat. Let's exclude your vacation and your experiences. Like, okay. David was so good because he knew my passion was golf on the weekends and lakes and everything. So I was like, all right. And then he wrote down some of the most respected people in Keller Williams, from Diana Kokoska to Mary to Bruce Hardy to Colette Ching to people I really admired. And also Gary Keller, people who I looked up to, not only because what they've done and built for their lives, but their influence. And he goes, what do all these people have in common? And I go, I got nothing. And he goes, they've all nailed the team leader role at one time in their life.
Wow.
And I mean, the list was like 10 or 15 people of the people I respected in their journey. Mm-hmm. And that just opened up the eyes of like, what does this look like? So for me, back to the question of purpose, my purpose is it kind of relates to freedom. Do what I want to do with who I want to do it, when I want to do it, so I can give back at the level of 2 local charities I'm passionate about. Like, that's it, right? And I'm sitting there going, all right, this gives me a little bit of freedom on the weekends. And then he showed me the map of, you nail this here, this can lead to launching new offices in Virginia, which he provided for me. He was an investor in the Virginia region. So I got to, provide equity there or get some ownership there. So he gave me a path, and he asked the question, he goes, what's more important to you? Job income or wealth creation? And he just dug deep. He kind of did like a motivation. I said wealth creation. And he kind of outlined that. He goes, a team leader role with performance, not only you're going to get the job income, you get bonus based on how you're doing, but also if you're a attractor of talent, your job is to help through other people, through your ALC and top producers, but you're also going to get your unfair share of profit share, which was awesome. That's another bucket that goes to your net worth. You nail this, you'll probably get equity opportunities, et cetera. So he showed me a path, and I'm so grateful for David, of if net worth, legacy, freedom, passive income is important to you, you go nail this for a few years. I'll help provide that with you, because he had such a big vision. Yeah. So that was it. And it was kind of aligned with like my passion of doing what I want to do with who I want. And that dialogue of net worth or passive income was more important to me than any job income. And that was it. So I'll never remember that dialogue. It was just awesome. One little napkin of 104 led to a 2 to 3 hour conversation of the role and the opportunity.
That is so cool. I love that.
That's what got me into the game.
There's a lot of great ideas and a lot of great things that have happened as a result of a napkin. So you're just evidence of one of them. I love that. I love that story. Cool. Leslie, how about you?
So what attracted me to the role? Well, I remember before I was at KW, I always had this idea or thought, like, there's got to be something bigger out there, right? Like a bigger way to impact the industry, to impact the lives of others. And my first introduction to KW was at a co-broker appreciation event. And I remember explaining this concept to the team leader, Katie Benson. And I said, I know there's something bigger out there. I'm just not sure how to get from here to there. And her words always stuck with me. And she said, all you needed was to meet somebody like me. And 2 weeks later, I moved my team to KW because that was exactly the impact. And I knew that I didn't yet know what I didn't know. And I looked at that team leader role as an opportunity to create that impact in our industry and change the lives of others. At that time, though, through my journey, I wasn't sure if I was going to create that impact in coaching or in team leader role. So through my journey, I actually had turned down opportunities in the team leader role a couple of times. One, because I wasn't sure it was the right leadership fit for me. But more importantly, when I was presented with the opportunity to be a productivity coach, I said, this is my chance to explore opportunities to find out where I can have the biggest impact. And what I learned through that was there's no other role in the Keller Williams opportunity map where you can impact others to that degree. And by me stepping into that opportunity, it would give me a chance to create even bigger and greater opportunities for those around me. And I started developing this mantra in my head that like at the end of my career, let me not be judged by those who've stayed under me forever. Let me be judged by those that have grown far beyond me. And that team leader role was the role for me to start to develop that legacy.
Love that. Love that. Really cool. So here's the next question I have for you. And it may have been a minute since you've actually been in the team leader role. And I want you to think about what were the standards that were set by your OP, and how did it differ from your own standards or the expectations of yourself?
Is that me first?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Well, I was stepped in the team leader role in a time where the scoreboard was very, very clear. It was the 2-10-40, 2 appointments a day, 10 a month, 10 a week, 40 a month. That was the standard. We had the 4 conversations. We knew them, we wrote them out regularly, and we converted at a 4-to-1 ratio. And then of course have positive company dollars. So those were the standards that we were recruited into, and there was no lack of clarity in the brokerage or in the market center that we stepped into. And how did that align with my standards? I'm a growth-minded individual, and I believe that we create the most opportunities by exposing the most amount of people to our Keller Williams ecosystem. So that was definitely in alignment with where I wanted to grow. That's why I chose the OP that I went into business with, because we were both passionate about that and running in that direction. Now, I'm very tough on myself, so I'm just going to overlay my own standards. I also intended to beat the industry attrition rate. My goal, I was in a struggling market center, so I was going to tell our value story and change the perception of our local market, and I was going to focus on culture and growth through increasing the productivity of our agents. So we started with a scoreboard, and as long as I knocked that out, I earned the right to do everything else on my board.
That's awesome.
Cool. Tony, same question.
Yeah, I'll go back to my last stint with Mary. And this was a little bit different than Leslie, because my last year of TL was the growth or the 2-10-40 came right after that. So we really didn't have that system and measured. And at this market center size I was playing with, Mary was real clear. She goes, Tony, here's the standards we have. Okay. As long as you hit 20 agents a month and 3 cappers, we will only have a meeting once a month. Now, if I was an OP today or TL, I would have a different cadence, like maybe once a week and 30, 60, 90 every day, right? But that was her style. She also had a big job as president of KW. So that was the number. So at the end of the day, it was probably some form of a 2-10-40 or measured and all that. But at the time, the CEO of the company said this to me. And it's probably one of the best advices I've ever got. And you could probably apply it to anything into lead gen of a real estate if you're an agent, but in a team leader role, he goes, to have massive success as a team leader, to build the biggest life business possible, your success as a TL is in direct proportion to the number you teach to who can help you attract talent as well, who can help you recruit. So we set our Debbie from 20 to 35 agents a month gross.
Wow.
And because if we're going to keep growing from 300 to 400 to 500 agents, that gross number begins. So I was like, well, this does not fall on my shoulders. And so there was the systems we implemented of a growth committee that we poured into every month, staff, ALC, that it was a team sport. And how do you create that? One, you teach and train the models and systems. You have a growth committee as big as you want. It doesn't have to be the ALC. But what happened was the right people start raising their hand that go, hey, I want a piece of that profit share. I want to go attract people. Tony, can I go to the real estate schools for you?
Yeah.
Tony,
Cool.
can I start attracting half cappers? And you've taught me the MRA about like how to recruit or attract. And what happened was we would have 3 to 4 recruiters. We would have 5 to 10 appointments a day walking around the market center, new agents, producers. And I was just the leader, not the actual doer of everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And and it just started going, and it was all hands on deck, staff and everything. And what happened was the right people raised their hand. One of them was Brian Martin, who was an ALC member, and he was my ultimate replacement to be the team leader. And now he's one of the leaders of MAPS coaching for all leadership.
Yep.
And he became a team leader investor. His journey is great on the opportunity map as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I thought. I was like, we were competitive. We wanted to be number 1 in the country in gross and net. That happened 2 out of the 3 years there, but it was the advice of saying it's in direct proportion to the number of people you teach and who want that opportunity. And then you're going to find your replacement, right?
Yeah.
So when Mary says, hey, go be RD in Northern Cal, or here's an opportunity. And she goes, but before you go, I need, who's going to replace you? And I go, well, it's Brian. Here it is.
Yeah.
He attracted 30 people at his first level. He's making $25,000 a year in profit share in year 1. I don't think there's a better opportunity than this guy's earned that right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah.
Cool. Yep. Love
Tony,
that.
what I love about that, and actually I kind of learned this from observing you, is I often say to team leaders, right? Like there's a reason it's called team leader and not team doer. Right.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that scoreboard and those metrics can seem overwhelming. And the truth is if we're leading the team, then it all becomes easier. Right.
It is a team sport. Yeah. It's great.
And I think it's no business. And if you're a mega agent, duplicate yourself. Why don't you teach them how to lead generate it?
Absolutely.
More than ever in this shift, it's about the funnel. It's about the at bats, and it doesn't have to be just you. So that was really fun. I think the team leader role, you not only the role is awesome, you learn a lot, but you actually kind of get a master's degree in business. Like at all 3 different levels, especially when I was launching offices, like you get to lead people, you get to learn how to attract people, you have to learn how to hire great people. You got to learn scripts and dialogues. You learn the P&Ls of a business, all in one opportunity. You just kind of become it's a master's in real estate or a business and owning a business. And I think that's under talked about, to be honest. You kind of hit all those in one opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So I want both of you guys to answer this question as well. And thinking about what was the one thing that you did well, that if you were back in the team leader role today, you would do that again?
Leslie, want to go ahead?
I would say kind of in keeping with what we just talked about, what I believe that I did really well was build a really powerful team around me, right? And that started with our ELT, and ultimately, my team leader, when I came to KW and started exploring it, said one thing, like, your ALC can be your greatest asset, or they can be the biggest pain in the neck. You choose. And so I made a very early decision that my ALC would be my greatest asset. And I spent the first year of my team leader career, giving them everything that I had, right? Pouring into them every single day, putting their businesses first, growing their leadership and their team. I expected, and I showed up as if they were 10s every day. I praised them, I grew them, I created as many opportunities as I could for them. And through that, it kind of led to the rest of my success. So
Very cool. Tony?
This was probably took me year 2 into the role where I finally, because I was, remember 25, 26 coming in, just pure straight entrepreneurial. Like it was just go, 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 energy. And Gary had a mastermind in Austin with about 40 people. I was lucky enough to be invited in that room. And this picture, this was his diagram, if you can see it. Yeah. It's a circle with a little dot. This basically has changed the way I think in my day. And he draws this big circle and he goes, all right, guys, what is that? And we're like, a circle? Like, I don't know, Gary. And he goes, that's your life. And he goes, if you want to have your
Zoom has,
it'll come back. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Every 30 minutes it does it. We're good. I apologize. So he did
it was the crescendo, right? It was like Tony's about to give something good. Pause.
And then he draws this little circle, this little dot inside that circle. And we're like, he's like, what's that? And we go, I don't know, Gary. He goes, well, to have the biggest life or the biggest business possible, which funds your biggest life, he goes, your focus has to be that small.
Wow.
And we go, okay, let's talk about that. What does that mean? Your focus that small. And he goes, I don't care what industry you're in, but more especially in the real estate industry, in the leadership or the agent business, that focus means you have to win the day by noon every single day. And he said, you need to be absolutely spent. You need to be absolutely exhausted on your most important thing every single day by noon, no later than 1 o'clock. And he expanded, like, what does that mean, right? And it's obviously 2 to 3 hours of the one thing. It's getting your funnel as big as and wide as possible and contacting them. 2 to 3 hours, right? You get your whatever your spiritual, your prayer, meditation, get your steps in. For me, it's 10,000 steps as soon as I can while I'm listening to get me going. But it gave me the mindset, no matter what happens, if I wake up every day, knock out the spiritual, knock out my steps, do the right activities, probably have 1 or 2 appointments by noon. I still have the rest of the day to do another attracting of talent. And then what I call walk around leadership, walk around the office, touch the people, whatever, teach a class, whatever whatever, you're going to win the day. And the results are going to come. So every single role now, even past the team leader, like I'm involved in, this little drawing is just a reminder. Now, do I fail on some days? Absolutely. I'm not going to say it's, but I have a mindset to get up early and be just spent on what's important by 12 or 1 o'clock every day. That's it. And that's probably the best advice business advice I've ever received. Is one little diagram with a little circle in it. And that's it. And it's good things happen. Now, of course, you're exhausted, but what's your afternoon look like when you're doing that? We're meeting with cappers, we're meeting with top producers, we're coaching great agents. Your energy's still there because you're doing the thing that moves the business forward. Yeah. Right. So I would say that's what I did well early. I learned it and I just changed the way I went from entrepreneurial to really purposeful calendaring because of that dialogue, that diagram that Gary gave me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something so simple yet so powerful and impactful. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go on the flip side. What's the one thing that you'd never do again if you were in the role?
Just one? No. Leslie, I'll go. I'll start. And then, or go ahead, Leslie. I'll let you.
We'll go you go first, because this one is really meaningful for me. So you go first, then I'll go.
So this was when I was in Virginia launching offices, and I had to replace myself as a TL. And at the time, I was hiring just entrepreneurially throughout my whole career. Like I didn't have a system. We had a system, but I totally didn't follow it. It used to be called Recruit Select. Now it's called Career Visioning. And I was just so weak and quick and entrepreneurial. And we opened up an office in Virginia, and I knew she was more like a broker manager, not the actual driver leader. And instead of following the system, I went ahead and moved forward with her, me and my business partner. And 6 months later, it didn't work out. Now, luckily, we knew it. I moved to Austin, so I'm already kind of in a different opportunity, but we found Matt Sutter, who came around, turned the office and do it. 3 years later, the president CEO of the company at the time, or the vice president of growth and future president CEO, came to me and he goes, Tony, I want you to come teach this class called Growth Initiative Recruit Select across the country. And he flew me to Minnesota with 10 other guys. And I go, sir, why, Mr. Vice President, why did you pick me? He goes, I've watched your career when you were team leader in North Texas, and he was the regional OP at the time. And he goes, I've seen you make some of the worst hires in the history of Keller Williams. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like, appreciate
so much.
Thank you. He goes, but what I also know is when you make hires and you make mistakes, what happens? You've learned, and you learn fast. So I'm going to teach you how to teach this class. And the next year, I want you to go take this class 4 times from these instructors. And a year from now, I'm going to get you out throughout the nation and teach a class called, now it's called Career Visioning. Back then it was that. So long story short, back to your original question, the one thing I would do differently is learn and master, move towards mastery of the career visioning process. I think if you're to ask me, what is the #1 class that can change your business, which will change your life and affect others, is that process. And once I implemented that, Debbie, my world changed.
Yeah.
I was able to exit with class with people who should not be in my role. Then I moved forward to hiring great people to the role, empire building. And then that springboarded me to other opportunities because I had a great team around me.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing I wish I had done earlier, not halfway through my TL journey.
I love though that you had all the lessons and the history, prior to that. So painful and yet valuable at the same time.
Yeah. And I just think the tools inside CV are just fantastic. If you want to get out of a funk, go get somebody's life story. Like I get out of it if I'm having a bad day as a leader or whatever, I'll just go, hey, can I verify your KPA? Can I spend an hour and focus on your strengths?
Yeah.
And then I leave that meeting, I go, okay, I'm good again.
Yeah, that's cool.
I impacted somebody by a tool inside of that. So
nice.
There's a lot in there. Yeah.
There is. Totally.
Yeah. Tony, do you ever look back and think, man, how much easier would my life have been if I'd have caught that earlier? Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still burning financial stuff for myself and other people, right? It impacts a lot of people with that one bad hire.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect process. I still make mistakes, but the predictability is pretty strong.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Miss Leslie.
Oh, the thing I would never do again. I often say to people when they say, how do you get to where you are? And I say, I simply just made more mistakes than you. So there are a lot of mistakes along the way that we've learned from, but I would say the thing I would never do again as a team leader would be to carry the burden alone. And by that, I mean, I was challenged to go into a difficult market center, one that it was commonly known in our market would never hit a certain agent count. It would never be a big market center. And well, that got me really excited because they used to say, how do I motivate you? And I said, just call me every morning and tell me I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that was great. And through my own energy and charisma, I dumped everything into everyone around me. I built incredible teams. And what I didn't do was empower them and to ask for help. Full transparency, my ALC advanced going into my second year. I pulled out the numbers and I said, guys, the goal was 480 and 120 gross, and we hit 477 appointments and 101 agents. I missed the mark, and you may not know this, but every day I have to show up and earn the right to be your leader. And I didn't do it. And if you believe in me and you want me to continue to be your team leader, I have to earn that right, and I'm going to need your help. And those ALC cried. And then they said, Leslie, you were 3 short and you didn't call us. I postponed 3 new team members until the first of the year because I didn't know. Now we're going to continue that story because what I did well was build the team and pour into them. A month later, I was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of breast cancer. And I went to my OP on that day. I went right from the hospital to meet with my OP. And I said, this is what's going to go happening. This is the path that I have to walk. And I cannot be your team leader because these agents and these ALCs and this ELT needs every bit of me. Like they need everything and they deserve everything. And I'm not going to be able to give it to them. And he looked at me and he said, Leslie, I got you. And I said, great. If we're going to do this, I need 2 things. Number 1, I need the backing of the ALC. And number 2, I need to know what you are going to allow me to let burn. And we created a plan. And the next day we called the ALC together and we sat in that room and I had one of my hardest days ever. And I said, the culture we have built is that if any person is in need, we're going to stop the ALC meeting. And today that person is me. And this is what I have to do. And this is the path I have to walk. And you deserve every bit of me and you deserve a team leader who can be here every day. And I can't promise you that. And they said, we got you. And that year we went 480 appointments and grossed 121. And there were days that I was in the market center 2 or 3 days of the entire year. And the 2 things we decided as a leadership team and as an ALC that I would do would be when Leslie was in the market center, I would lead and I would close. And that is all I did for an entire year. And it changed the way I led and it led. That was my defining leadership moment. So wow. My greatest failure, luckily, I had done a lot of things right along the journey that helped me through my greatest failure.
Wow. I love that. I love that story, Leslie. I don't know that I knew that story. So thank you for sharing it.
And here's what's so cool. That's what she still does. She leads and she closes. I mean, literally, that's what she does.
Yep. That's very cool. Very cool.
I remember when you got that diagnosis, Leslie, and you shared it with me in Austin, and it's just so inspiring. Like it's just an awesome journey. Anyway, proud to call you a colleague. It's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I will tell you a secret, you guys. I wore my wig for one day and I tore it off in the middle of a recruiting appointment and I still closed because I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm here to change your life. I can't be messing with all this other stuff. And
I love it. That was your pure authenticity and empowered self just coming through. So I love that. I love that. Thank you. So what would you guys say to somebody that was not raising their hand right now for this opportunity that clearly has changed the trajectory of both of your lives and the impact that you've made in other people's lives has been probably unmeasurable. There's probably things that you don't even know how you've impacted others as a result of you saying yes to the TL role. So what would you say to somebody not raising their hand right now?
So I love that question. I think there's a misnomer. Like there's a TL in Northern Cal's been in the role for 15 years, Kristen White under Bev Steiner. She's fantastic. Like we have tons of TLs in the regions that are been 5 years plus who have massive opportunities to create big businesses. So my first thing would say, find the top team leader in your region with who's performed over time, reach out to them and say, hey, can we talk about this journey, what it's done for you, right? We could sit here and talk, go peer to peer, go to people who've are in the role now and go learn from them and see kind of the impact that's had on them and others. The other thing is, I think next family reunion or mega camp or KW Connect or regional events, raise your hand to the regional leader or the area director and say, hey, is it okay if I become a guest or can I jump in on this call? Or what classes do you suggest I go to? Leadership fundamentals. And a lot of times just raising their hand, can you share with me more a little about this opportunity? Mm-hmm. So talk to your RD or your OP, wherever that dynamic is. And I would say this too. I think, and I'm speaking of just kind of truthful here. I do a lot of CVing for some people. I think it'd be pretty impactful if you want to raise your hand and say, hey, before I learn more about it, is it okay if I get to know you a little better and do your KPA and pour into them? And then they're going to turn around and talk about that. Like, just go build a relationship with somebody, whether it's a top TL or the RD in the region, and then do some KPAs and then talk about the opportunity.
Cool.
I think it can't hurt to send me an email, send people or building relationships. Heck, send one to Mark King. Like, the raising your hand is saying, hey, I want to, not saying I want to do it, I want to learn more. You're on the radar. And I would start there.
Cool. Awesome. Leslie, what would you say to somebody not raising their hand for this opportunity?
Yeah, a lot of what Tony just said. I would just say is if you find yourself in a place in your journey that you are asking those questions of, how do I create bigger impact? How do I influence others? Like, how do I change lives? Then you owe it to yourself to explore the team leader opportunity. But more than that, just open yourself up to the possibility of opportunities, right? I didn't know that the team leader role was the right opportunity for me, but what I did know is I was looking for some kind of opportunity, and I was putting myself in those rooms to interact with people throughout the organization. I was one of those weird like mega agents that back in the day when we had mega leadership camp and mega camp together, right? Like, I would actually go to mega leadership camp as an agent because I wanted to understand the opportunity map and make the right decision for myself. And then kind of what Tony said is it is about having the right conversations, right? There are going to be people who served in the team leader role that you're not going to get an accurate or positive picture of what that role looks like. So make sure you're asking those questions for the people that have succeeded in that role, that have created opportunities for others, that have taken opportunities themselves. Because I truly believe, like, to lead and inspire others, you must first be running a business and leading a life that others aspire to. So go find people in Keller Williams that are living that life and ask them the questions of how they got to where they are through the opportunity map. So, and the last thing I'll say about this is that opportunity often shows up in a package that you had no idea it was going to show up in. And in this, I would say, put your ego aside and always have the conversation. The market center that I started in was not the market center that I thought I would be a team leader in. I had spent 3 years learning and training and growing into what I thought, and I was being groomed to be a team leader. And when I got tapped on the shoulder, they said to me, we would like you to go serve over here. And I said, that was not even on my radar. And there was a piece of my ego that said, wait a second, what haven't I done? And you know what? I went to my OP and I said, what haven't I done? And he goes, Leslie, you've done everything. And the truth is I know your trajectory and I know your goals, and I can't give it to you here. I need you to go serve over there where you can make the greatest impact. And 3 years later, I was asked to be the general manager of the market center that I didn't get the team leader role in. So open yourself up to opportunity and know that it might just look different than you thought.
Yeah.
Leslie, I want to add one thing to that. Like, I love that, because also we hear a lot too, that people like maybe in year 1 or year 2 and really starting to ramp up their business. And they're like, I'm not valid yet. I haven't sold enough homes and everything. Put that myth aside. I mean, I did it for a year. There's some of our top team leaders in the country were not top producers yet, but they had a passion for leadership. They became a student of Keller Williams. They're learning based, and they're just all in. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're newer in your career, you're just vamping it, that is, raise your hand. If this excites you, let's get that path, because at the end of the day, the best team leaders, no matter what their experience is if you're learning based and you know how to translate and consult to systems and models, and you work hard and you're some form of behavioral fit to that role, you can succeed at this quickly.
Absolutely.
And because that was the biggest concern I had, was I was 25 years old. I've been sold for a little over a year. How am I going to be valid? And I just poured into all the systems and tools and became the biggest student of Keller Williams possible. That makes you valid, because you're coaching and asking questions to our models and systems. So I just want anybody listening to that saying, hey, I'm not quite that top producer yet. That's a, let's get that myth out of there.
Yeah, cool. I love that you said that, Tony. I think that's great.
I do too, Debbie, because, you know, there are people that we will have on some future episodes that came from outside the real estate industry, and all they did was dive into the models that were there and the systems, and they had no clue of anything else but that. So they stayed focused on that, and you'll hear stories about how they were highly successful too. So Tony, it's just dive into the systems and models.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Well, I want to give an opportunity. If anybody has a question that you'd like to ask, if you don't mind, just because of the way my screen is, if you'll raise your digital hand, and or you can put the question in the chat. I've got that open right now, and I'll be happy to read the question for everybody. So if you've got a question that you would like to ask of either one of our great panelists today, go ahead and pop that in the chat or raise your digital hand, and I'll be watching for that. There's lots of good comments in the chat, by the way. Just want you guys to know.
Oh, good.
Yeah, one of them was, that was one inspiring napkin. And Leslie has been called the all-in-one tool.
You know what Gary says? Keep models on one page of the system. A napkin and one little drawing is like, it's kind of all I think, like.
There you go. There you go. So love it. All right. Okay, I've got, I can't see who it is because it just says Keller Williams Southern. So go ahead.
I've tried to change it. I'm on my phone. I apologize. But so I'm 18 months in the role, and I am on Leslie's in the network with Leslie, and she's a great leader. But I'm at a place right now where I'm feeling the shift. I feel, and I mean that in my role as a team leader, I'm feeling the shift. I've learned quite a lot in my first 18 months. I've built a relationship with the ALC. I'm now turning my focus to education in the market center. So what are some of the things at this point, at 18 months in the game, that I should be really keeping my eyes and ears open for, and putting myself in the right room so I've got the right tools at this point?
Cool.
Well, I can start, or I've got a thought. I think what I see, and I think there's two things that come to my mind immediately, is I think where I see some market centers in terms of their training calendar, they just leverage too much, quite frankly. KWU or Mega Camp and family reunions at the events. So I would create a training calendar where you have you teach and train always to the top producers in your market center, period. Like, you have Ignite and all that, but the top producers bring on guests and everything that will attract guests, agents, and mindset and things like that. So I would first look at your training calendar and go, are we creating mega camp family reunion type experiences for our own associates? That creates stickiness, and that creates a lot of energy. And I'm not saying you're not doing that, but go back to your training calendar and for planning for next year, make that a top priority. The second thing is 18 months in, oh man, we are seeing so many associates. I would talk to your top 20%, ask them actually get with your leadership team and go, who's left our market center in the last 3 years? And right now, more than ever, we're seeing people raising their hand to come back post-COVID to Keller Williams.
Yep.
So I would get that list, get a strategy, plan, and go after everybody who's left, because I promise you, whether they admit it or not, they miss you. They miss our culture. They miss our systems. So when you create this great training calendar, you create this calendar, become an inviter, make it a safe haven that, hey, it's okay to come back and explore us again. Start there. And I'm saying that because I know several offices, that's all they're doing right now. And they're having massive success of people who've left thinking the grass is greener and coming straight back because they miss our culture and our company. But you got to have the training at the highest level possible, in my experience, to really have the best result with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Leslie, you want to add anything to that question?
No, Tony, thank you for fielding that. Carrie gets to talk to me all the time, so I wanted to soak in as much Tony as possible. So yes, all of those things.
Awesome.
I already had Leslie's answer to that. I just always like to go out in the field and see what other ideas are there happening out there. Thank you.
So the other thing is Rick Cunningham, who's one of my best leaders in Northern California and Hawaii, and he created for his San Francisco Peninsula States office. It's kind of a combined office with the business owner. It was a 60 and 60 recruits in 60 days. Mm-hmm. And they did it. They ended up with 65, and most of them cappers. They're now our top profitable office in the region, but it was a team sport and a mindset. And what happened was, maybe you could have a dialogue with your OP and say, hey, would this be something we can implement? And when we do hit that, can we create a fun team award or something to do together? And it created energy, it created focus. And majority of those agents are people who left and came back.
Cool. Yeah.
I
So
love that. I always love to gamify it. So I love that.
Gamify it, call it. And when I was at TL, we used to call it a holiday special or a March Madness. If you join, but by the time the NCAA tournaments, here's this, now's the time to play the long game, the market share game, and do whatever it takes to get people back. Have the dialogue with your OP and see what you can create. Yeah. Create some urgency, gamify it. It's been awesome to see where it's working.
That's cool. That's cool.
And Tony, to piggyback on that with Rick, we were looking at pipelines, I think it was yesterday, and they still have some people in the pipelines that may not have converted yet, that now, because the shift is happening, will be easier to convert even. Yep. So it lives
work
on.
With Rick, right? You coach Rick, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there you go. You've seen the results of that. It's been, honestly, that should be a nationwide deal. We should get the whole country doing that mindset.
That's cool. All right. You heard it here first. Go do it. All right. We've got Kathy Gibson has got her hand raised. What you got, Kathy?
Well, I just wanted to ask both of them, as we go into this shift, we all know that there's going to be less realtors in the business. What are you doing differently? How are you showing up differently? And what specific script or thing will be your go-to during this shift for recruiting?
Leslie, let you go.
Oh, for recruiting, here, am I going to show it differently? I'm going to say no. I show up every single day as the best darn leader that I possibly can, and to pour as much value into our agents as we possibly can. So am I going to show up differently? No. Now, what the value I might bring may shift during the time of this shift. So this kind of goes into where the TL should be focusing, right? So I'm just going to lay those out if it's okay, Debbie and Terry, right? What would I be doing if I was a team leader right now? The 3 things I'd be focusing on. And guess what? Success is simple, not easy. There are no silver bullets, right? The agent's world is going to require lead bullets, and so is the team leader's role. So here they are. Focus on gross, right? I'm a huge creator of opportunity. There's so much opportunity at KW, and the more opportunities I can create, AKA new family members, then the greater that opportunity map becomes. I believe that we are remiss if we are not out there every single day talking to agents that have not yet aligned themselves with KW, because we are leaving agents subject to a market where they don't have the systems, tools, coaching, and support to not just survive this, but thrive it. So at your core being, you need to be ringing that bell, banging that drum every single day. And that needs to be the thing that makes the phone calls, easy. You are remiss if you do not change a life today. So carry that with you. Number 2, productivity. This is a skills-based market, right? And that goes for you as a team leader too. So you need to know the models, you need to know the systems, you need to be teaching them every single day. Like Tony said, productivity equals retention. It is your job to model, not just know them, but model them for your people. And then the last thing, profitability, right? Like this may be the shifting thing. We need to be finding win-win opportunities to bring value to our agent population that will also drive profitability as we see unit counts going down, as our profit margins start to get squeezed a little bit. So what are you doing to add value in this market, i.e. ancillary businesses? This year we added marketing, transaction coordination, talent acquisition, and legacy planning into our offerings for our agents, and we're working towards leads. So that was my long answer of the 3 places as a TL that you need to show up as the best leader in guiding you through the market to come.
Cool.
Thank
Love
you.
that.
Love your passion, Leslie. Love it. Tony, what would you add to that?
I'll just add two more things. Now more than ever, make sure you have a day where you're just coaching your top 20%, and it's once a month, right? So I don't know how many agents do you have in your office?
208.
208, so call it 40. So you're going to talk to your top in 30-minute, right? Calendar it and everything, coach, pour into them, because now more than ever, they're going to know co-op transactions that they've done in 12 months who deserve this type of value that you're giving them. So what happens is, in this shifting market, coach, train, add value. Hey, who else do you know in the last 12 months would experience this type of coaching and training? Let them be the referral, right? So you're doing 2 things here. Your stickiness, you're adding value, and then you're going to get leads through your top people. I think more than ever, I'm in our Plano office now, and she started implementing it about a month ago. And she goes, Tony, I'm recruiting more cappers now just because I'm coaching my own people.
Yeah.
So get that calendar, 20 to 30 minutes once a month with everybody. The second, I would say, what's your system for all the R2s? And like, do you have the right who, whether it's your PC coach or an ATL, where they're focused on the schools, the K score, the Keller Williams school, and they are on a scale of 1 to 10, they're a 9 or 10 performing. So that you're going to get your gross in on that level, right? The newbies, so you can focus on your top people. And I think that's it in terms of the way you should think about it. And the other thing, here's the mindset, right? We're feeling the shift. Our agents are feeling the shift. We have the best training and culture in the company. What are the company's agents, competitors? How are they feeling?
Yeah.
It's even more dramatic because they don't have it. So that's why I think going into your 20%, use, like, my thing is, hey, you know what? I don't have your motivation. 30 minutes. Tell me what's your purpose, right? Do their KPA, find out their why, coach them to the models, and then get the referrals.
Yep.
I think that's more critical than ever.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's just a time block. Like, go to your admin today, who's the top 40, and time block it once a month and knock it out in a day. And that's your day. And I think you'll see great results out of that.
Cool.
It's just a system.
Yep. I love it.
Can I add one more thing to that too? Is because I think there's a piece that is missing, because I went super tactical. Shocker, I'm a driver. I would also say, here's the deal: live a life to aspire to. Like, live a life to aspire to. Like, what does your world look like? Like, are you giving back to yourself? Are you going on those vacations? Are you honoring your family? Because that becomes an attractor, right? Like, you don't want, it's going to be very hard to attract talent if they're looking at you going, I don't want your life.
Yeah. Good point.
So make sure that you are setting that as a priority, because, like, the shift it's easy. It's not going to be easy, right? I love a shift. Like, it's tons of opportunity, but don't get so busy in the day to day that we forget the purpose behind why we are doing this, and which is changing lives. And that includes your family, that includes your loved ones. So that's my last, that was the unicorns, puppies, and butterflies version of that.
I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much. Well, I don't see any other questions or comments in the chat. So I first of all, I just want to just share major gratitude for both Leslie and Tony for not only the wisdom, the nuggets, the passion that you guys have, and it comes across. It really does, and it's an honor to have the opportunity to not only know you guys and work with you, but to have you share your stories today. Terry, I don't know if you're at a place, if there's anything you want to close out.
These calls just pump me up, and honestly, I can't thank you guys enough. And, for those of us that spent time in this role, we're so grateful for the people that dug the ditches in front of us so that we didn't have to do what they did to get here. And the opportunity is just huge. And man, I just love it. I could do these calls every day and listen to stories like this. So thank you. You're going to change lives just spending an hour with us. Thanks, Tony.
Terry, thank y'all. Like, I've known y'all forever. In the AW world, it's been so fun thank you for creating this group, this environment. I think it's critical. I think it's awesome. I think it's exciting. I think we're going to get a lot of people raising their hands. And if I can help any conversations, just
awesome.
Send them my email.
Yeah, I would say, Tony,
let me know.
Well, let the RDs know that this is out there. So like, we're sharing it. All RDs are invited to this. And I know it's just one more thing, the email that they're getting, but it'd be great for you to share it.
Yeah. And again, thank you guys so much. Any closing comments from you guys, Leslie, Tony?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand. There you go. I love it.
Right. Explore it. Because it can impact a lot of lives.
Yeah,
that's right.
Cool. Great closing words. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And of course, like Terry said, we've got others that we're going to interview, and they're all just incredible, just like Tony and Leslie were. Thank you again. So fun to do this. And this will be posted on our Matters of Influence YouTube channel. And it will also be on the Facebook page, Leadership Leaves Clues. Okay, so you guys can grab it there. And thank you for those that joined us. Thank you to those that are going to listen to it that couldn't join us today. And definitely thank you to Tony and Leslie.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
all right.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.